Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. Chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. It's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price. When a management with a reputation for brilliance tackles a business with a reputation for bad economics, it is the reputation of the business that remains intact. We simply attempt to be fearful when others are greedy and to be greedy only when others are fearful. Wall Street is the only place that people ride to in a Rolls-Royce to get advice from those who take the subway. Predicting rain doesn't count. Building arcs does. In the business world, the rearview mirror is always clearer than the windshield. Should you find yourself in a chronically leaking boat, energy devoted to changing vessels is likely to be more productive than energy devoted to patching leaks. The only way to get love is to be lovable. It's very irritating if you have a lot of money. You'd like to think you could write a check, "I'll buy $1 million worth of love." But it doesn't work that way. The more you give love away, the more you get. I buy expensive suits. They just look cheap on me. I don't look to jump over 7-foot bars, I look around for 1-foot bars that I can step over. The first rule is not to lose. The second rule is not to forget the first rule. It's better to hang out with people better than you. Pick out associates whose behavior is better than yours and you'll drift in that direction. Derivatives are financial weapons of mass destruction. Time is the friend of the wonderful company, the enemy of the mediocre. I always knew I was going to be rich. I don't think I ever doubted it for a minute. Wide diversification is only required and investors do not understand what they are doing. When you combine ignorance and leverage, you get some pretty interesting results. Basically, when you get to my age, you'll really measure your success in life by how many of the people you want to have love you actually do love you. The investor of today does not profit from yesterday's growth. Look at market fluctuations as your friend rather than your enemy, profit from folly rather than participate in it. You only have to do a very few things right in your life so long as you don't do too many things wrong. We enjoy the process far more than the proceeds. The best thing I did was to choose the right heroes. Only buy something that you'd be perfectly happy to hold if the market shut down for 10 years. Our favorite holding period is forever. Risk is a part of God's game, alike for men and nations. If past history was all there was to the game, the richest people would be librarians. Of the billionaires I have known, money just brings out the basic traits in them. If they were jerks before they had money, they are simply jerks with $1 billion. Beware of geeks bearing formulas. Today people who hold cash equivalents feel comfortable. They shouldn't. They have opted for a terrible long-term asset, one that pays virtually nothing and is certain to depreciate in value. A public opinion poll is no substitute for thought. I never attempt to make money on the stock market. I buy on the assumption that they could close the market the next day and not reopen it for 5 years. We believe that according the name, investors, to institutions that trade actively is like calling someone who repeatedly engages in one-night stands a romantic. If a business does well, the stock eventually follows. There seems to be some perverse human characteristic that likes to make easy things difficult. Value is what you get. If you get to my age in life and nobody thinks well of you, I don't care how big your bank account is, your life is a disaster. I sent one email in my life. I sent it to Jeff Rakes at Microsoft, and it ended up in court in Minneapolis, so I am 1 for 1. The smarter the journalists are, the better off society is. For to a degree, people read the press to inform themselves, and the better the teacher, the better the student body. The business schools reward difficult complex behavior more than simple behavior, but simple behavior is more effective. Your premium brand had better be delivering something special, or it's not going to get the business. I think the most important factor in getting out of the recession actually is just the regenerative capacity of American capitalism. The only time to buy these is on a day with no why in it. It's never paid to bet against America. We come through things, but it's not always a smooth ride. The big question about how people behave is whether they've got an inner scorecard or an outer scorecard. It helps if you can be satisfied with an inner scorecard. We always live in an uncertain world. What is certain is that the United States will go forward over time.